get started here. If you are looking for info on pumping through the holidays, this is the webinar for you. We're going to go ahead and get started with introductions and give you some fantastic tips and then talk about that giveaway that I know everyone is really excited about. I'm Jacque Ordner. I'm a registered nurse and IBCLC, International Board Certified Lactation Consultant. I'm also a mom of four, and I've done my fair share of traveling with and without my children. Traveled with my milk when I was pumping for an adoption. And I'm excited for Elise's tips because I know she's going to have some gold for us today. Lisa, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Lisa Myers, and I feel really lucky to be with you, Jacque. You and the Motif team do such a great job of sharing accurate, real knowledge for moms who are actually in the struggle. And I was one of those moms. I am not pumping anymore, but I pumped for years. I have two kids, and I traveled for work, and I really came up against the limitations of what was being offered to pumping, working, or exclusively pumping moms. And so I invented a breast milk chiller. Now, among other things, we have a few products all geared to supporting moms who are out there in the world trying to do it all and show up as the parent they want to be to their child. And often that means pumping and breastfeeding on the go. So yeah, I threw away thousands of ounces of milk when I was working because I was traveling all the time, and I was so often confronted by the limitations of TSA and of the equipment that was out there. So luckily things have changed, vastly improved. And so this is a great conversation to have.
Yes, I'm so excited for your real life experience and then just the innovation from an inventor perspective. I appreciate the shout out for um, our commitment to sharing real evidence-based, like accurate information. There's so much to wade through. And in my private practice, that's the number one thing I get feedback on from patients is like, there's so much what applies to me, what's accurate, what's not. So I am thrilled for this partnership for this webinar because we can give people tangible things that they can walk away with and make their lives easier. So let's get started with just why the holidays are tricky. Obviously, it can be disruptive to your routine. So if you're traveling and pumping with your baby, that can be disruptive for them because they're going to maybe be sleeping longer while you're traveling. They're going to, maybe feeding times are going to be a little bit disrupted because there's a lot of distractions or there's a lot of pressure to get someplace on time or whatever that might be that's going to disrupt the routine. Limited privacy for sure. We've all been someplace where it's like, okay, I really need to pump, and there's just like a bench over there out in front of everyone. So definitely airports. I've been to a lot of airports where that little mother's room is always taken, or it's nasty and you don't want to be in there because they don't pay them much attention. Storing and cleaning. I think this is what I hear most frequently from people is like, where do I wash my pump parts? I'm going to some holiday party and or I'm going to be, in the air on a flight or on a train. What do I do? How do I make sure everything's clean and safe? Which is, I'm so excited to hear more about the chiller in response to that. And then those long travel times just can make it like, okay, the last thing I want to do is deal with pumping and making sure my milk is stored safely or cleaning my parts.
But disrupted routines for sure. I think one of my failings when I was trying to do all this was that I never really hit a great stride. Like I was traveling so much for work. I was an attorney, and I just opened our Vancouver, Canada office, and I was traveling back and forth from Seattle, but I was also traveling all over the United States. And so I did not do a great job of staying with a routine, but I know from when I was able to hit a routine and from all the advice of IBCLCs like you, that having a bit of a routine can help you maintain your supply. And I guess I would say, give yourself some grace if you're not able to stick with a routine and you see a slight dip in your supply. Just be mentally prepared for that, because with the stress and with changes, you just are going to hopefully do the best you can And then limited privacy. I have to say, I am an introvert, which some people find hard to believe when I'm doing something like this, but I used to like having to duck into a room with my son or daughter to breastfeed them. Like whenever things got a little bit overstimulating for me or for the baby, I'd be like, oh, I think she's hungry. And then we would just go somewhere quiet and nurse. But yeah, that's certainly something I dealt with. And then last thing I will say, storage and cleaning. We have something called the wash basin, and this is not just to share CeresChill products, but we assembled a bunch of really helpful tools that are all perfect for travel, for TSA. And it was all based on feedback and conversations I had with moms who were flight attendants. One mom in particular said, okay, so you've solved a world of problems for me with the chiller, but there is nothing more disgusting in the world than an airport bathroom. It is second only maybe to an airplane bathroom.
Yes.
So she's like, help me with that problem. So we have something, that we just call simply a wash basin, but it is a collapsible bag, and you have a collapsible brush and travel size soap, and then a microfiber towel so you can kind of clean it all up on the go. But Jackie, real quick, how do you feel about the wipes? So a lot of people use wipes for their pump parts. We supply wipes through CeresChill, but I know, different companies have their own version of the wipes. A lot of people love Dapple for their soap and the wipes, but how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think we always, the guidance from CDC and all the 3-letter or 4-letter organizations is always the most conservative guidance, but we have to apply that to real life. And so if you can't wash with hot soapy water, or you can't sterilize your parts, like you have to do what you have to do. The wipes can be effective. I don't have any particular qualms with them, except that if you notice your duckbill valves are not operating quite right, or the diaphragm inside your pump parts are not quite right, like make sure you really got all of the milk fat residue off of those things, which can be tougher with something like wipes. But I think they're a great solution for, we just have no other options. Like military families, I recommend the wipes all the time for, if you're active duty military and you're in a Humvee somewhere pumping,
Right.
what are you going to do? You need the wipes. So yes,
Yeah.
I think
No, that's great.
let's see. I'm just catching you up on what's going on. Can you see the Q&A, Lisa?
I can pull it up. So I see that we have a couple
Okay.
great questions. One of them was from Lindsay wanting to know about sanitation, cleaning of parts. So I hope we helped, Lindsay. I hope we helped a little bit. A lot of people, I don't want to get controversial, Jackie, but if we have moms out there who are pumping, let's say at family's house, like for Thanksgiving, and they're able to put their pump parts in a cooler, but that freeze pack is spent, or they're able to put it in a safe bag. Are they able to put it in the fridge and come back and pump? Because I think the CDC changed their position on what's called the fridge hack. Could you speak to like what what your personal IBCLC take on that is?
Yes, absolutely. So it wasn't that long ago, maybe 2, 3 years ago, the CDC actually had a little blurb on all their guidance that said, okay, the fridge hack is one of those things that like isn't top tier, but it's acceptable kind of thing. Like we always, give the best, most conservative advice, but this is an acceptable thing to do. Then they just mysteriously took it away. We didn't get any explanation. It just is gone. And that was really frustrating for a lot of lactation professionals and families alike, because they were like, oh, I feel okay about doing this. As an IBCLC, when we look at the research for the risk involved with breast milk, as long as that milk has been cleanly collected, your parts were not contaminated, your hands were not contaminated, etc., then the risk for anything really growing on those parts, if you refrigerate them, is really, really low. There's risk with everything we do. And so I usually just give the advice that, all right, here are the recommendations from CDC. Here is what we have research from the Academy of Breastfeeding Medicine. Dr. Hale has actually done some research on what grows in breast milk and pooling milk and all these kind of controversial things. And the bottom line is, if we are adhering to really clean collection practices, then the fridge hack is very low risk. But the CDC does say probably not the most ideal situation. So with everything, we take all the information and then apply it to your real life. So that's my professional answer.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. The fridge hack is one of those things out there. It's what I would encourage everyone to do. We have a post about it. I bet you Motif has a post somewhere, but if you look, and we have a blog about how incredible breast milk is, but that it is naturally antimicrobial and antibacterial, that it is actually, it's full of live cells that are fighting all of the bad bacteria out there. So yeah, so I don't want to get us too far off course, but
No, I
breast
think
milk
that's
is
perfect.
pretty exceptional. And so like you said, there's risk with everything, but knowing if you're following best practice and then just trying to make do, it'd be much better to pump and try to stay on a schedule than to like get off course and, end up having to supplement with formula if there was a way to prevent it just by giving yourself a little bit of space and time with a fridge hack or
Yes.
something like that.
I think people forget too, like there are risks with formula and I have 4 kids. We definitely used our fair share of formula at different times. So I don't want anybody to like misinterpret this
Babies.
as
Yeah.
bashing or anything. It's just a reality. Sometimes we talk about the risks with breast milk and we forget that there are also risks with formula. And so it's not like, oh, if I just don't do that with storing my breast milk or my parts, that I've alleviated all risk, because there is risk with formula preparation too. So I just want to like make sure we have that context.
Yeah, we'll cram as much information as possible. And then this is a really robust presentation and we have great tips. We have a really cool blog on our site that I would love to share through the Motif site too, where it's based on moms who've traveled all over the world, their experience, and including flight attendants who also are subject to the same standards in a lot of ways, in a lot of different airports. So if you have questions about a specific country, maybe it's covered there by a mom who actually traveled and experienced that airport, even down to the airport. So
I love that.
and you mentioned the mother's rooms and the airports. Could we take a second? Because one of the questions is about spaces to pump at airports and while traveling. I know Mama Va has a really great app for their pods. And in Seattle at SeaTac, there are several pods near different gates so that at every terminal there's a space. But I also know, in Denver, there's just beautiful rooms. It felt like a spa. I'm pretty sure it was Denver where I was pumping, where I'm like, wow, this is really a fabulous experience. Like beautiful lighting. I think there was, then there was like a full sink and a great place to, have a toddler play while you pumped, which is really nice.
Too. Yes, it is nice. Yes. Yeah. I'm some of the more memorable ones that I've experienced. LAX, I was underwhelmed with. I'm thinking for this like huge airport, like what's going on? But it's been several years since I've been there, so maybe things have changed. But yeah, the Mamava pods are great, and they have an app too, right, where people can find locate those pods even outside the airport and just all over the city or whatever.
Yeah, right, because they are all over. Maybe if some of the moms who are in with us, I mean, we have 55 people with us right now, but if some of the moms have experiences with travel or certain airports, if they want to share it. One thing I do with my team, I believe a couple of members of my team who are moms are watching, but we all travel with milk in our chillers so that we can help educate TSA, but also experience what it's like going through security and how stressful it can be. Some moms don't feel comfortable even sending their milk through on the conveyor. And so you can insist that you walk through with it. It's a bit more of a, I guess I'll say fight. Sometimes you have to really advocate for yourself, but I have done that before. But you can send it through the x-ray. There is no evidence that I've seen that x-ray machine has a negative impact on the milk, but a lot of moms just aren't comfortable letting that liquid gold out of their care. But yeah, so for me, I'll say, and I'm like going way off of the slides, but the process for me all the time, I would say, most TSA agents now are very familiar with CeresChill. Ice packs can still give you trouble if they're not totally frozen. TSA is reluctant to let you continue on with them because they're worried that it's a bomb. They can't test the inside contents, and so they're not sure what's there. So there are some chillers that have cropped up since I invented CeresChill, but they all involve, from what I've seen, a freeze pack. So I would just say that if you can pick an option that you're just using ice, what's really nice is you can dump the ice if TSA would like you to. You don't always have to. And then you can go right through to any Starbucks, bar, flight attendant and get ice. And with the chiller, you're back in business for another 20 hours. So that gives you a lot more time to like breathe and feel better. And one thing to know that your milk and your pump are not considered an extra bag. You don't have to pay extra to bring them, and they're not subject to the same guidelines for amounts and weight. So you can take your milk and you can take your pump right onto the plane and right through security because it's considered a medical device and necessary for the health of your child, even if you don't have your child. I have to say, Jackie, the funniest thing in the world is always the TSA question, like, well, if this is your breast milk, where's your baby?
Yeah. I'm like,
every mom on this call is like, duh. That's the whole
the point, right?
We're doing this.
Yes. Yeah. And when we experienced that, it was waiting to adopt. We didn't end up getting to bring our child home, but we went to Disney World with our other kids, and I was like, I have to keep pumping. Everybody's great, until we got to TSA and they're like, where's the baby? And I just said, oh, at home. And I'm like, it's not a lie. They're at their current home until, until it's us. So I found that really frustrating too. And but I do feel like as they're getting better with training, I hear less of that question being asked, which is really encouraging.
There's a really sweet old guy in SeaTac who his name is Stan, and he, like, very early on when I was coming through with my chiller and milk, he said so for me, just to go through the process, so you would put your chiller in one of the bins, send it through, or tell them that it's breast milk and insist that you hold it and you walk through the screening, and then ask them to change their gloves. A lot of TSA agents already know, and they're already on top of it, and they're already changing their gloves by the time you get to the screening area. But you can ask them to change their gloves. They should not give you a hard time, but just prepare yourself for not everyone receiving a special request in a gracious way during the holidays. So change their gloves. And then they're going to unscrew something like the chiller or the top off a bottle if you're taking a cooler. And then they're going to hold a test tab above it. They should never stick it in. I've never had anyone stick it in. Everyone seems to know they just hold it kind of like I'm sure a lot of people have had it happen with like their shoes. They just hold the test strip near it. I think they rub it on your shoes though. They shouldn't rub it on your breast milk, but yeah, hold it over the breast milk. And then they just make sure that it's not part of an explosive, and then they send you on your way. So this guy, Stan, is so sweet. When I go through security, I've been through security with him twice. He's like, ma'am, you're just going to go right up to that Starbucks there and get yourself some more ice. He's like, have a great trip. I'm like, thanks, Stan.
I love that. He's like, I got you. That's fantastic. I have one more question on this, and then we will go through this slide actually. Because my experience, exactly what you said, and the advice you gave about TSA with your bags, it doesn't count against you. Is that true for flights that originate outside the US as well, or does it vary when you're at an international location?
Varies, unfortunately. And so what's really great is most major airports, whether it's Brazil or France or anywhere overseas, most will have their guidelines. If you search, breast milk, breast pump, and then flight, and then that airport, You should get the information you need. We have a lot of it covered in our blog. Definitely we'll link that to the presentation. But yeah, it's unfortunately, Jackie, like it's much more uniform now in the United States,
Mhm.
but some people get on their high horse and they think they know, and they will insist that they are the law, and they
Mhm.
are just gonna take a stand that is in opposition to what you want for you and your baby. And I think trying to remain calm and talking it through, a lot of moms have printed off the guidelines
I definitely
in the
recommend that
US.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
anybody I'm working
Yeah.
with for sure.
Uh, and then some moms have gone so far as to, and I'm not saying you have to do this, but have a woman who's on our team, Janina. She is an incredible mom. She lives in Costa Rica. And when she travels, she uses a bag that says medical equipment on it.
Yeah,
And so it, like, at least they read the words and it's like it seems official. It's just saying what it actually is and
sure.
what the law, says it is. But sometimes that helps too. So if you're trying to decrease your stress level, having tools and having something like a medical device or medical equipment bag might be a way to go. And then printing off those guidelines so you can show them, maybe even in their native language, like, hey,
Right.
listen, this is allowed.
Yes, I love that. Great advice. The medical bag thing I've seen before, and you could probably get them on Amazon. I should look and just have a link ready for
Yeah,
people. I'm sure you can.
you can.
That's great advice. The schedule, the routine, like you mentioned earlier, and like we said, this is a big deal. The biggest issues I see with this are if you're following baby's cues. So if you are traveling with baby and maybe you're exclusively pumping, you might be tempted to just, oh, they're not waking to eat because they're lulled to sleep in the car or whatever, and then miss a session. And so that's where
Time
I would say,
changes.
oh yeah, that's yeah, time zones. And we just
Yeah.
had the daylight savings time
Yeah.
here. That's no fun. But yes, still keep, when do you pump? Just whenever your regularly scheduled programming was. But also being flexible, because I definitely work with families who are like, okay, I missed my pump, or I can't pump at 3 p.m. and that's when I always pump. I'll just skip it. And I'm always like, please don't skip it.
Mhm.
Please just adjust. You
Yeah.
either do it a little early or do it a little later. Earlier is probably a little safer. Even if you can't do the full time, if you normally pump for 20 minutes, but you could only pump for 10, do 10, because the more you have of that feedback inhibitor of lactation that builds up in your breast when they're full, that is a polypeptide in your milk that does exactly what its name says. It inhibits lactation. So when the concentration of that feedback inhibitor of lactation gets high with full breasts, it sends those signals, slow down production, we're full, we're at max capacity, and nothing's being removed. So even if you just pump for 5 or 10 minutes, or you do 5 minutes of hand expression, you're
Yeah.
reducing that concentration of the feedback inhibitor of lactation and protecting your milk supply. So flexible and consistent, but not stringent or militant, is always the language that I use with that. Definitely charging your equipment is key. It sounds like so basic, but sometimes just saying that out loud so you can add it to your checklist before you leave is really important, especially if you're, maybe an exclusive pumper and you've been using that equipment and it's your routine to charge it overnight or something, and you're leaving midday. You might need to remember to charge it midday before you take out on your trip. Luna with battery, I think most people know Luna. It's our flagship primary pump. Luna with battery is amazing. All of our batteries, I love when I do demos, just showing our products to people. These pumps sit on my shelf back there, and I can turn them on after, 2 months of just having them on for 30 seconds at a time. And the battery level is exactly where I left it. So Luna with battery is great, but we do have that car adapter. I love our portable pumps. So we have Roam, which is the one with the lanyard. You double pump with the collection cups. This is great, super discreet. You can put these collection cups with Luna too. So
Oh,
as
nice.
discreet pumping, yes. And then I just gotta say, Aura Glow she's the star of my world right now. Um, because, wearable is where everybody's wanting to go. But as an IBCLC, I have really struggled with just the delivery of we're not seeing the efficacy with wearable pumps until a few new pumps came on the market. We saw some new technology, and Aura Glow is absolutely one of those in my private practice that every week I have somebody say, multiple people say, I'm getting just as much with my
Nice.
Glow as I do with my primary pump. Now, I'm always going to say a primary pump is a primary pump, and that's what we should have as our main pump. But I am so impressed with how Aura Glow is working. So we cannot talk about pumping through the holidays and traveling without just mentioning how amazing she is. And we have a whole
And how
webinar.
much, what's the capacity on the cups? I'm trying to remember, Jackie.
Ounces for Glow and 5 ounces for the
Okay.
collection cups.
Okay.
Yes. So, and Glow has a pause. So if you are an overproducer and you need to pause and empty, you can pause your session and do that without starting all over.
Nice. And the collection cups, just to explain to everybody in case they aren't familiar or they don't have them, different than a pump, right? You're
Yes.
talking
Yeah.
about,
Oh,
yes.
excellent point. So
Yeah.
yes, the collection cups have tubing that would connect here. It's the same tubing. I can just take it off here and show you. It would just plug in right here and then connect to whatever pump you're using. So if it's the Roam, it connects down here.
Nice.
And if it's Luna, it's going to connect to the regular ports on the front of your Luna or other brands. I mean, I know you might be coming to this webinar and thinking I've never even heard of Motif before. Collection cups can be used with some other brands with some creativity. They are not a pump. It's just like a flange, but just encased and then goes in your bra, and you would put your tubing under your shirt, and that makes them very, very effective for that discreet pumping. If you buy the collection cups by themselves, they do come with a wet dry bag. So when we're talking about that fridge hack, this is something that comes with them, or just to keep breast milk from getting on all your things because it doesn't come off very easily.
Right, right. And we had a question about somebody using their Aura as their primary pump and whether or not that's okay. And kind of like to what you said, it's a bit controversial for some IBCLCs because they still say a wall pump is the only safe way to maintain your supply. But you're saying in your experience that Aura does help with that removal of milk. The main thing is that you're removing enough milk that your body knows it needs to keep producing milk.
Yes.
And with some wearables, you don't fully empty your breast. And so then you end up with that inhibitor that you're talking about, that signal to your body that, look, we can draw down on this effort a little bit.
Exactly. And as far as it being okay as your primary pump, if it is working for you, I would do a comparison if you're able, if you have another pump that you can, that is a primary like wall pump or standard flanges and a unit that sits on the desktop. That's what I have my patients do that tell me, I want to use it all the time. It's doing great for me. I'm like, all right, let's do a couple of comparisons. Pump at the same time of day, a few days in a row, alternating which one you're using, and compare your output, compare how your breasts feel. And if we do that for a little bit and everything is looking good with what Aura is getting you for output, Aura Glow is getting you for output, yes, go ahead. That's not going to be the case for everybody. A lot of people just respond to traditional flanges better, like hard plastic, regular flanges. That's okay. So just make sure you kind of do an assessment for yourself. And if you don't have a primary pump to compare it to, it's pretty easy to see if you've already gone through the first couple of weeks postpartum and your supply is increasing like it's supposed to, then everything's working like it's supposed to. And I wouldn't, if it broke, don't fix it. So long answer for if it's working for you, keep doing it.
Right. So I think we're at the point on the slide where we're talking about keeping milk safe on the go. And then someone in the questions asked about keeping milk cold for a long drive. So some people will be driving, some people will be flying, some people will be taking a train. I live on an island, so I take a ferry and then a car and then a plane when I
Mm.
travel. So it's always more fun. But yeah, and then one of the questions, Jackie, was how many extra, what do you recommend as far as traveling with extra parts? I mean, I always, if you have a pump with tubes, I mean, my toddler used to play with the tubes and then it would go missing. And and it's like such a simple part. If you have an extra, I would recommend taking an extra, and then also extra flanges and maybe a bottle. The thing everybody should know is that CeresChill can connect directly to your pump typically. And so, depending on what pump you have, you may need an adapter, but it's native for any narrow neck pump. And then, for Motif or Spectra or Lancino, you just need a simple adapter, but you can connect directly the inner chamber and the upper cup. So you can, one collects up to 12 ounces and the other up to 7. So lots of capacity there. And then you just empty it into the chiller. So you showed the Aura and the collection cups. You can just pour it into the chiller, and then the ice in one of the chambers is going to bring that milk down to a safe temperature and keep it there for 20 hours. And then if you need more time because your flight gets canceled or your 14-hour drive becomes something else entirely, you would just add more ice. But a lot of people, I will say real quick, Jackie, worry that if their ice is melted, they need to pull over, find ice, like add it, but you actually don't. It's just that ice has transferred its cooling power to the milk. So it's bringing 100-degree milk down to, 40 degrees. And so the ice melts, but then the insulation kicks in and keeps it safe and cold for the rest of the time. So there was another question real quick about traveling with frozen milk and when you have to use that frozen milk. So maybe, Jackie, I know we have other slides, but could you go over the guidelines for use real quick? And then I just want to call out that if there's still ice crystals in the milk, it's still considered frozen. So you don't have to use it within that really restricted period. So maybe you could, because I never can keep those guidelines. It's like 4, 6, something.
Well, and there are different guidelines depending on the organization. So I just want to make sure I understand with the chiller, you're saying don't pay attention to your ice as much as pay attention to the time. You've got 20 hours. If it's been used properly, you have 20 hours. So, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And now we just came out with the OG Plus, and you can freeze the inner chamber, and that gives you significantly more time and also some convenience. There was another question and comment in here about hotel refrigerators.
Oh, yeah.
Those are so questionable. Like, I mean, you open them and you get like a blast of warm air and you're like, that doesn't feel right. So it's nice if you have another means of keeping your milk cold, whether it's a cooler or a chiller, to be able to rely on that ice and know if you put some ice in, even if it's melting, it's doing the work. So just be thinking about the time. You can always reload the ice for peace of mind, but it's, you don't have to, don't fixate on whether or not you see any cubes in there. But can you go through the guidelines real quick? Because I think that's hugely valuable and you're the expert.
Yeah, sure. So we want to get milk chilled by 4 hours is the most conservative recommendation. That's from the CDC. We know other organizations like La Leche League, Academy of Breastfeeding Medicine give us more time, like maybe up to 8 hours. So we have that big window. The point is, like we said before, breast milk is it's really hard to get it to grow things that it shouldn't grow unless we contaminated it. Yes. So it grows babies really well, but not necessarily bacteria and viruses. So 4 hours at the countertop or just room temperature as the most conservative, up to maybe 7 or 8 on the more liberal side of that. And then once you get it in the refrigerator, we can keep it cool in the chiller or the refrigerator for that 4 days is kind of the most conservative there, again, up to maybe 6 or 7 from some of the other sources. And then we really want to get it in the freezer at that point, up to 12 months in the freezer. A lot of people ask me, is it really 12 months? They used to say just a deep freezer at 12 months. Breast milk doesn't become as long as the temperature's been maintained in a freezer, it doesn't become unsafe even at 12 months. We just see some degradation, some of those properties, nutritional and immune factors reduced at that point. So yes, really 12 months, but within 3 months is sort of the ideal time, 3 months or less in the freezer. As far as traveling with a cooler, 24 hours is the official recommendation if you have really solid cooler packs. I've really not seen many that will do that. Maybe the really expensive closed cell double-walled coolers, but they are big. And that's my favorite thing about the CeresChill products is they're easy to tuck in a bag and you don't have an extra bag just to cool your milk. And I do find a lot of the changes in temperature, like hotel fridges or depending on our cold packs and our coolers, it's pretty sus as to, which ones are really keeping them cool. Once it's completely thawed, liquid, no ice crystals, you have 24 hours to use that milk. That we don't ever want to refreeze it unless if it still has ice crystals, you could technically refreeze that milk and it would be okay. I
Yeah,
think I got
yeah. And
everything there.
I would, yeah, no, that was great. And I would say it breaks my heart when I hear moms talk about throwing away milk, probably similarly to how I was always dumping it in the garbage when I was at airports. But I always think it's so funny, like, or sad, the moms that are like, they get to 365 days and they're like, so I guess I got to throw out my whole
Right,
freezer
right.
stash. And it's like, no, like your milk doesn't know if it's 365 or 366 or 364. And if you go over on the guideline for the days or the time after it's frozen, if it then becomes 30 hours, use it for a milk bath or something. Like
Yeah.
there's so many like healing properties in breast milk. One of the coolest things I heard at the Human Milk Symposium, like international brilliant minds coming together to talk about breast milk research, is so many countries consider breast milk and colostrum as baby's first vaccine. I
Yes.
mean, it is so much more than nutrition. It
Mm-hmm.
is actually as they call it, a therapeutic in so many ways. And so there's just a lot of value in breast milk. And so just try to stick with those guidelines. Try to also be reasonable and think about the context. And then if you can't use it, if you feel it's unsafe, you've gone too long, or it feels like it's warmed up, then use it for a milk bath
Yeah,
or
or
something.
jewelry or soap making.
Yes, yes.
Yes. I'm in the Midwest. I live on a farm, but cows and pigs and all things and race horses around here. Like you said, we don't maybe value breast milk quite as much as some other cultures or places across the world, locations. But in the farming industry, we get it. Like we will do
Yeah,
anything to get a racehorse on another mama so that it gets
yeah.
colostrum. And I'm like, why do we have that problem not
It's,
transferring that same thing to humans? But sometimes we have a hard
yeah.
time with that.
I know. I'm so glad to hear you say that. I grew up on a farm as well, and one of the things they talked about is it was so easy. Like pig farmers are like, yeah, colostrum.
Why would
Like I mean,
you?
that's everything. Without colostrum, what are we even doing?
Right. And they don't have
So
any
yeah,
problem taking these piglets and putting them with this sow. That's another conversation.
yeah.
Some of
I
you
know.
may be like, "Oh, Jackie." Um, Lisa, this was sort of meant to be the highlight slide here. What did we not talk about so far?
Okay, so yeah, I know Kathy's been doing a good job of asking a lot of the questions. So yeah, so I guess I would just say be aware that your chiller is really versatile. Again, I don't want this to just I love empowering moms to be out there traveling, to not feel inhibited or that they have to choose between breastfeeding and visiting family or
Yes.
pumping and being present for dinner or a gathering. So I think that what I want to make sure everyone takes away from this conversation is you absolutely can do it. I was a hot mess. I managed to travel, and the chiller is a huge help. So it does convert, so you can pump directly into it. So if
And
you forget your bottles,
we have the converters on the
oh,
website
awesome.
for Motif too, if anybody is wondering about how to make it work with Motif.
That's perfect. That's so great. Yeah. And so yeah, so you can pump directly into it. It also can become a baby bottle. So, and you can use the chiller as a bottle warmer. So you just put hot water where you would put ice. And then if you need the extra capacity, you can, and your milk is already cold. Let's say you've been with family for a couple days, you've got it down to a nice cold refrigerated temperature. You can then pour it all into your chiller. Maybe you have to take home, 34 ounces. That chiller can hold the OG Plus can hold 38 and the OG can hold 34. And so that's a lot of milk to be bringing home and something to really be proud of. And so the other thing I would say, just random tip, Jackie, of like how to survive changes in altitude, whether you're driving up a mountain or you're like on a plane. If you're on a plane, nursing that baby at takeoff and landing or providing a bottle helps to equalize the pressure as they're sucking. We chew gum and
Okay.
having that baby sucking.
Yes, I completely agree. But I've experienced with my own child where I was not allowed to do that on the flight. So I don't want anybody to
What?
be, yes, I was told it was like a choking hazard, and the flight attendant was like, we will not take off if you don't turn your child around facing into you. They even made me on one flight wake up my baby. And
Oh my gosh,
I just took
Jackie.
it from the perspective of like maybe I don't know, like maybe there's a lot of logic here and I just don't know what it is. But even as an IBCLC, like I was almost in tears after that experience, saying the whole flight is going to be delayed if if you're nursing your baby. And so that's something that I've kind of reached out to different airlines, and the
Yeah.
feedback I get from most of them is no, it's fine, like just nurse your baby, but also the flight crew are the authority. So
Yeah.
like don't get yourself arrested. But I didn't want anybody to be shocked if they had that experience.
Yeah.
So if during actual takeoff you can't nurse or bottle feed, just as soon as you sort of get wheels up, then you can. And then we're just delaying it by a few minutes and then do exactly what you're saying to reduce that pressure change in the air. I did not mean to derail you, but
That's
I thought that was
no,
important too.
I'm so glad you shared that. That's never happened to me. I've never seen that happen. I've never heard of that. So,
Yeah.
I'm glad you shared it because you never know what you're going to come up against. And I think to go into all of this with just like, well, this is going to be wild. Let's see how it goes and be ready to advocate for yourself. I mean, it's all so stressful. And especially if you're traveling with other small children, it's like, people are crying, they're hungry, they're tired,
Sometimes
and you're like,
adults are crying.
I know, exactly. So, that's really good advice. And then I guess I would say, it helped with my own son. And then another woman, her son was like absolutely inconsolable, just a tiny baby, probably like 3 months old. But, he wouldn't stop crying and I said, try taking his socks off. Like,
Oh yeah,
I'm like, he
speed is
might be
forward.
like, yeah, hot, like any change in like the way they feel, like then like little massage on their feet or like pulling on their toes. And he stopped crying immediately. And for my son, that was always, sometimes he would be overheated or just overstimulated. And so finding a way to like manage that stimulation sometimes can make a
Yes.
huge difference.
Wear
So
a big stretchy camisole, get your baby down to their diaper, and do skin to skin on the plane. I have done that
yeah.
before too. And people might look at you funny, but who cares? They're gonna look at you funnier if your baby's crying the whole time. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
I
And
love
then
that.
Louise asked, I want to be respectful of this
Yeah.
question, alternatives for the chiller. So,
Oh,
coolers, I think Motif, do you guys have a cooler?
we have a cooler
Um,
set, and I will say the cold pack in it is one of the better ones, because sometimes the ones you just get, at the grocery store or whatever, they really aren't great. Yeah.
yeah, and someone asked, yeah, I would say they're really not great. That's the best way.
They're just not.
Um, and then someone asked about warming milk on the go. So I would say, I mean, know your baby, but maybe over the holidays or before, so you're not stressed out, see if they'll take a cold bottle. Because
Yes,
some babies
100%.
really don't care. And some moms are like, oh, I thought that was like harmful. But no, if your baby takes a cold bottle,
Yes.
congratulations.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. Yep.
So yeah, and otherwise you can just get a bowl of hot water. That's how I always did it. A bowl of hot water or the CeresChill doubles as a bottle warmer, which is super convenient. But yeah, I think seeing if your baby will take a cold bottle before traveling might be the little miracle that you needed to take your stress level down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always recommend that. People are like, medically, can you do that? And absolutely, there's no reason you can't. Oh, um, you made me think of another tip too, as we're kind of looking at collection cups, which we already did talk about a little bit. Um, Resupply through insurance when we were on the
Mm,
previous slide about like how to, extra parts. My tip is if you don't need extra parts immediately, wait until that resupply kicks in. For a lot of insurances, it's every 30 days you're getting new parts. For
yeah.
the collection cups, everything that you see on the screen right now, all of the inserts, you get all of that as resupply for collection cups. If you have Rome and you're getting resupply, you're getting those collection cups. If you
That's
have,
awesome. I didn't
yes,
know that.
if you have Aura Glow and you order resupply, you're getting all of the parts to collect. So you're getting those
Wow.
extra parts and potentially covered by insurance.
Free
So
peace of mind? What?
I know, right. So just wait it out. If you don't need those extra parts immediately, you may get a couple of sets as your insurance covered replacement parts, and then you're set to travel. Now, with people always ask about flange size and excuse me, those extra parts. I just want to make sure that people see with the collection cups, they come with 5 sizes. So down to
Awesome.
16 millimeters available in the box, down to 13 millimeters available on the website. With Aura Glow, it's down to 15 millimeters comes in the box and down to 11 millimeters available on the website. And those smaller flange inserts that work with Glow will also work with Luna. So Luna has down to 16 millimeters for hard flanges, but you can get down to those 11 millimeter inserts with Luna. I know this isn't about flange sizing, but that's like the thing that I'm most proud of Motif about
Yeah.
is that we are leading the way on offering flange size options for people. So when you're thinking about getting those extra parts and how to travel with those, don't forget to check if your insurance covers replacement parts.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And then I would say that if somebody can't wait for the month to come around because we're already in November, I have no idea how that happened. But if you're traveling for Thanksgiving or you're worried you're going to forget, you can use FSA HSA dollars for
Yes.
the filler, for motif, for parts. So it's great to keep in mind that if you have those tax-free dollars set aside, that they can be used for breast pumps and pump accessories and the chiller. So
Yes.
definitely like you can go to Amazon, you can go to our websites and use those funds there.
Yes, I love that. Very important thing because we forget about those all the time in my house. I want to quickly touch on the two special pumping modes that are on Roam and Aura Glow because they're the same on these pumps. You can use these pumps just like any normal pump with your massage mode and expression mode, or some brands call it stimulation. It's that quicker, like let down function at the beginning. But they both have general pumping too, which it starts in massage mode for 2 minutes, then it's going to switch to expression and then go back to massage to get a second letdown and then end in expression. That's exactly how I advise most of the moms I work with to pump is to go back for that second letdown. But this does it, you just set it and forget it. You set the mode, choose your level, and it will change it halfway through for you. The cluster feeding mode, I love, and I'm getting a lot of good feedback from my patients that it's great for them. So it starts with pumping and then pause. And during that pause, it's just like the tiniest flutter. So you can tell the pump is still on. And then it pumps again. And both of these modes, general pumping and cluster feeding mode, go for 30 minutes, but you don't obviously have to pump for
I was
30
going to say, does it wake you up every 15 minutes
minutes.
all night? Like, is
I
it
wish.
also called the scary mode?
We
Like, I
we
love
should
that it
work.
works
We should
so
work
well,
on
but
that.
I'm like, cluster feeding. Wow.
I know. It's
What a
a
fun
mini
time.
cluster feeding. The idea is when you pause and then restart stimulation like that, you get a little spike in oxytocin. So we're just capturing that little spike in oxytocin, which can result in a little bit more. Oxytocin is responsible for getting your milk to come out, that milk ejection reflex or letdown reflex. So we're capitalizing on that little bit of burst of oxytocin. And so some of my folks are seeing more milk with this. And if nothing else, if you're just tired of the regular mode and you don't want to have to change anything, pick one of these and it will do it all for you and then shut off when it's done. So definitely love these two modes, and check out the nightlight on Aura Glow. That's
Yes, I have seen it in
so
person
cool.
and it is so great, so helpful.
Yes, yes. Okay, I know we're running out of time, but
Yeah,
I
I
do want
know.
to
I
talk
don't
about the most important part here, which is the giveaway, and that we do have a code for everybody. I didn't mean to cut you off. Please go ahead.
No. I wanted to make sure we got through all the slides because I know we're coming up on time for everyone. And I want to make sure, I'm trying to remember. I know that, CeresChill is available through a lot of DMEs, but we're not available on your guys' site, are we, Jackie?
No, but I mean,
No.
that's something we can talk about too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh heck yeah. I mean, I just love the Motif pumps so much and the community that you guys have built. But I would like to, if it's okay, and now we're doing this live, so you're like, oh, I can't wait for
What
Lisa
can
to
I
ask.
say? Go for it.
I would love to offer the same discount for CeresChill. I didn't want to compete with what Motif was offering, but if folks who have been listening feel that a chiller or the wash basin would be helpful to them, I would also like to offer the Web 20. So if you go to the CeresChill website, it'll just be exclusive for, this group and for everything that we've been doing together. So we'll have the same expiration, so you can keep it consistent in your mind, and you can just go to CeresChill.com. But I highly recommend everyone going to Motif Medical and checking out the pumps, because I have seen them in person. And then from the chat, people have been sharing about how the Aura has really changed things for them. And with the holidays being as stressful as they are, it's like checking off a couple little boxes. It makes all the difference.
Absolutely. I have some baby showers coming up, and I'll be getting chillers for all of those. It's always what I get. So love the code. I'm going to use it too.
Oh, fantastic. And you
Yeah.
can buy a straw top with a tea infuser
Right?
as a gift to yourself. And we can now customize even with artwork. So
That
like
could
your
be
child's drawing, yeah.
I'm thinking business expense for myself. So yeah, I love it. I love it.
All right,
Yeah.
Jackie, I talked a lot. I am so excited that we got to show up for everybody today, because I wish I had this sort of support when I was traveling and pumping. So thank you, because you are an expert and you know all the facts. I just know all the problems.
But that's the best, right? We have like all the real life experience, and the research says, and the data says, so we can put both together. I love it. I think it's been very, very helpful. I want to just say to my team, to the Motif team, they're not really mine, they're just the Motif team. I want to check in about the giveaway. Anything I need to communicate last minute about that giveaway, people can just watch email. We're gonna see what they say here.
There's been so much great participation from the crowd that joined us. It's been really fun to have this conversation and to have like the real world experience out there, especially with the cool Motif products that you talked about.
Yes, I love all the questions. Also, we have somebody that's taking down questions. So if there weren't answers to some that if we review and we're like, okay, we didn't adequately answer, I'll put them in the blog recap. Okay, so Natalie's telling me we're going to draw on our end and reach out via email. As long as you had your email in there and you remember which email you registered with, then you'll be good, because that's the one you're going to check to the one that you registered for the webinar with. That's the one you're going to check for the giveaway. So I think that's it. I think we're good to go.
And if they want to see this presentation and the other resources, I'm guessing that's going to be emailed out, but we also will host it on our sites. Is that right?
Oh, we're going to host it on YouTube, I believe, unless anybody corrects me here. But yes, we're going to have that recording available. so they can go to both places and find it. We have our other webinars also available on YouTube. Okay, Ebony telling me I don't know anything. I just wait for them to tell me. And if it's beyond
I
breast
love
milk
it.
and lactation, then I'm not in charge for sure. Okay. Yes, and they're gonna they'll share, and then the blog will have a link in the blog for the video recap as well. So multiple places to get that.
Okay. So I think this is where we wish everybody safe travels. People are asking about how long the chiller keeps milk cold, 24 hours, 20 if you have the OG freezing in their chamber, ice, all the things. But I think everyone is going to have an amazing holiday season. We're going to like will that into existence. And then Jacque, you're an incredible IBCLC and offer up your time. I know on the regular. So Motif is a great resource. Like the website, the blogs, and the YouTube are awesome.
They care. Motif cares.
Yeah.
I love it because they could just make products that look cool, but they want to make products that are clinically sound and meet needs. And so I appreciate that shout out as well. But yes, we're wishing everybody happy holidays and safe travels. And we have the email up there for questions. So customer service, if it's a question that you want them to push to me specifically, you can do that. You can call that out in the customer service at Motif Medical, and I'm happy to, they'll let me know about that. And then we have the info at CeresChill, so we can get to any questions that we didn't answer. And then we'll have that blog recap as well. So thank you, Lisa. I hope you have a good rest of your day. And
yeah. And holiday, right?
And
maybe
holiday.
we'll talk before then, but maybe not.
Yeah, yes. Hopefully we could do this again sometime. It's been a blast, and I feel like we have a lot more we could share. So maybe we can do it again.
I know we only touched on farms.
We could do a whole webinar on lactation in the farm context.
Yeah. All right. This was amazing. Thanks again, Jacque.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye, you guys.